So I'm gonna be going over, the same coins I usually do: Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and a few others. And I'll give you guys a brief update on the markets. I'm gonna be going over it later today on a full, like 10 to 15 minute, maybe more, video on Bitcoin, what I think is going to happen. But I briefly covered here. Um, Basically, alts are gonna be fucked, right? Let me show something. So Bitcoin dominance. Okay, if we close the daily like this, we can get some possible relief. Um, we have a sweep of the highs here, right? So if we close below this high here, then we can get some relief. It's going to be temporarily. Alts are most likely fucked for a little bit, and I'm talking about like the next 1 to 2 months. I mentioned this before. Summer is a dry period. All right. If we take a look, sorry, that was a call that I made for students. Um, if we take a look at the bull run of fuck Mexi, one sec. If we take a look at the bull run that we had in 2020, right? We had a $1,500 range for almost 3 months, 4 months. Okay. Right now, from May till now, 18% to 18%. This is the range that we are in, and it's been almost 2 months. And then I expect this basically to play out for a while. All right. Um, if we take range highs to range lows, it's literally the same as back then. Okay. So we could range here for another 2 months, and leverage traders are going to get wiped out. Right. And that's like there's going to be a time when you will not see alerts from me for a bit because there's no point in alerting alts. I can trade Bitcoin and ETH easily. Like the volatility has been there with Sol as well. But when it comes to Bitcoin, this is your range, right? You have range lows, you have range highs. Let's go back to this chart here. Okay. This support that we are on is very important. This is, in my opinion, the most important level, because resistance, resistance, right? We flipped it, and then once we rejected, we had a harsh move down. Resistance, we had to move down first. Okay, we flipped it to support, ran higher, broke down again, resistance. Okay, and this is the breakout candle. And currently, we're having the retest candle. Now, I know I'm looking at the 3-day chart. The higher the time frame, the better. But even if I go to the 1-day, right, there's the breakout, there's the retest, and then we went higher, right? There's the breakout, there's the retest, higher. Okay, breakout, retest, higher. Okay, and then we fell down, turned to resistance. Um, Currently, right, this is a terrible candle, and we just need to hold here. If we hold here, we can see moves up to the supply zone. Right? This is the point that we have to break above. Okay. See how we broke above, held it, continued to run higher, lost it, and then we're bearish. So 67.2 to 67.5 is the hurdle that we need to get above. Okay. Now, people will come and say, "Oh, and I said it before as well, but I said it when we were here." we have inverse head and shoulders, right? There's the neckline, inverse head and shoulders. We needed to get above this, flip it to continue to run higher. We failed to do that. This inverse head and shoulders, if you see anyone calling it, it's invalidated. All right. Um, yes, I mean we can bounce here, but in my opinion, that's invalidated for now. We rejected from range highs like 5 or 6 times. We've had more bounces from support. If we lose this level, I know I have a long here. Where is it? Okay, this is the long setup that I had. This one already played out. Right, this is the demand zone and the order block right there. And my stops are a daily closure below this level. I think if we go back down to range lows, it's going to give. Because not only that, we will have lost the trend line. Okay. And I think with the amount of touches that we've had at support, it's getting weaker and weaker. The sell off is much stronger. Um, the stock markets are making all time highs. Why is crypto not coming up? If the stock markets go down, right, the dollar goes up, this goes further down. So it's a very concerning area that we are in. This area needs to hold and for us to go higher. But the fact that we're not even going up the stock market is concerning in itself. Um, if we lose this level, okay, Bitcoin dominance probably goes up to like 58 to 60%. You will see a 30 to 50% wipe down on alts. And this is why I haven't really given any alt plays. I'm only in 4 positions. My long-term bags I will sell if we drop below this level. But if you are in from higher, you're going to have to make a rational decision on whether you want to cut or just hold. I wouldn't DCA unless you have, like, let's say your entries are, for example, on Sol. Okay. Example on Sol. If you are, like, let's say here, then yes, you can DCA down here, right? If, like, this is your entry. But if you bought all the way here, right, you're kind of fucked. And I wouldn't DCA lower. I would just wait until we have confirmation of a breakdown below 60K. Or if you just bought here, then yes, you can DCA a little bit lower. Maybe you get a little relief bounce like we did yesterday. But I wouldn't keep DCAing your bags if you plan to hold short term. Now, if these are your long term bags, fine. But as I mentioned, if we break down, you're going to see a 30% capitulation on a lot of these coins. I wouldn't be trading these meme coins like dog with a hat and all those garbage crap that came out of Sol. I would focus on strong coins against their Bitcoin pairing. And if you are trading leverage, you want to focus on 1 or 2 coins or 3 coins. You don't want to over diversify into shit coins like, let me see. Let me pull up some shit coins really quickly, and I'll name some. Right, like if you take a look at the top gainers, right, like FTT, CTK, CVX. Like, yes, these coins are pumping, but look at their funding. It's like highly negative. So there's incentive to play those coins. But in terms of leverage and volatility, coins like Sol, Bitcoin, ETH have been giving a lot of opportunities to get in long, short, and it's been simple to play. Then you have coins like, right, like okay, like these coins, garbage. Um, like ARB right now, garbage. This is probably making like lows. Yeah, it just made like all-time lows. Um, coins that are like that have no names that are coming out, and you see wicks like this on all their charts. Stay away from. There's no point in playing those. Stick to 2 or 3 strong ones, whether it's strong up or strong down, and just play those. There's no need to go into like 10 different coins. All right. Um, can I ask how did you draw that resistance support level at 67K using the 1 hour time frame? resistance, resistance, flip to support, broke down, turn into resistance. So that is the crucial level to hold, or to get above and hold. Okay. So yeah, if you guys bought higher, you just have to wait. Like either you're gonna cut your bags or you're gonna wait to see if this support holds and we go higher. Then you can add higher if you want, but I wouldn't keep DCAing your bags. And I always keep it real. I always keep it raw, and I will tell you, when shit hits the fan. And right now, we could have shit hitting the fan. Okay, so I will cut my long-term bags that I gave, multiple months ago. I will cut it if we break down below, and then I'm just gonna wait on my hands, whether it be a month or two, to see how this plays out. Either I buy higher with confirmation, or I set doomsday bids and hopefully they play. Like for example on Sol, I'm gonna cover this. Don't shit your pants. One sec. I plan to buy Sol around 86 down to 53. Okay, this would be a 30 to 50% drop from here. All right, and that's exactly, in my opinion, what will happen if we lose 60K and go down to 50 to 53K. You will see that drop happen, and it's going to be a giant wick like this over the course of a week or 3 days. Okay, I'll go ahead and post this. This is also posted in my channel, but I will be going into this exact clarifications and further analysis later on tonight when I get home from work with BTC. Okay. If it's a long-term bag, is it okay to DCA? I mean, if you're okay with it, but again, like keep in the back of your brain, what if these were the highs and what if this was the cycle top, right? Are you going to keep DCAing for months or weeks on end, right? Because like, in my honest opinion, this has been the hardest bull run to trade because of ETFs. Okay, ETFs have meddled the waters, and it's a Bitcoin and ETH market right now. Okay, alts are completely fucked. So keep that in mind. Okay, like if this is the cycle top, and we continue to grind down and make lower lows and higher lows, lower lows and lower highs, are you able to keep that DCA method going? And what if we never bounce back up? All right. When I go over it on the Bitcoin video, it'll make more sense. But I don't want to repeat myself for 20 minutes. Okay. Let's take a look at ETH. All right. So yesterday, and just like that honestly that ETH played out perfectly. Filled it, TP hit, and then we went down. Okay, so this play is no longer valid. I already stopped out in profits. Okay, so I mentioned before on one of the streams, and we went over Bitcoin and ETH post ETF. Okay, so January was when we had the ETF for Bitcoin, right? We went down 20%, 21%, and then we continued to rally higher, right? If we take the highs post ETF for ETH, 21% comes at this demand zone here. Okay. Now, why did I set a long there? Let's go over it. I want that. Okay. So first off, here is your breakout on ETH. Okay, that's where I gave the original long call, and then we got a nice move up. Now, this left a giant fair value gap. Okay, it's currently being filled. However, I don't trade fair value gaps, but good to note that it's there, right? It was this 636.50 was a crucial level to hold. And I mentioned in my last stream, I just watched it last night, that we needed to get above this level to be bullish. Okay? We had a deviation here, rejection, rejection, right? We closed above, retested, held, went higher, came back, support touched, had a little bounce, lost it. It became an SR once we closed below, rejected, rejected, and then now we're just free falling. Okay, we're getting to some important levels here. This is one. This was resistance. We broke out. We never retested it. Okay, so take ETH bouncing from this point is very likely. However, taking it along here is risky because where do you place your stop loss? Right, like this was a range over here. Okay, range highs, here's your lows, played over and over again, broke out. Retesting of range highs is very, very likely. However, even if you go on a lower time frame, this 15-minute candle, right, was as hard as Drake on that leak video. All right, there's no place to place your stop loss unless you place it down here, which doesn't make sense because if you get stopped out, you go into this long here, this demand zone. So I personally am playing the long at the demand zone and the order block, and if we were to draw fibs, right, from the highs to the lows, okay, I drew the 786 fib as my DCA. So entry, DCA, stop loss a little bit below here, and then hopefully we get a bounce up to, if we fall back below the range that we previously had, keep in mind that if we fall back below, if that retest fails, that's a short. Okay? There's been many ranges that we have broken out of, and once we fell back below that range or back into that range, it was an easy short to take. And I'll give some examples on that. And range trading is honestly one of my favorites. It's the easiest in validation in terms of risk to reward, and then also it rarely gives stop losses, and if it does, it's like your stop maybe 1 out of every 10 times. Okay, so keep your mind. If we fall back below, it could be an easy acceleration to the downside. But if we reject the previous range highs and we don't bounce from it, you could take a short scalp into the long and just keep your short scalp open. And then the stop loss cannot be placed yet because I need more information over here, right? So ETH and Bitcoin are easy to trade. Like the volatility and the volume is there. Sol as well, right? But other coins, I wouldn't suggest trading. I would just suggest sticking to these three for the time being. Do I think that was the top of the bull run? There is a 40% chance I could say yes, and a 60% chance I could say no, right? And I'll explain later today on the video, but I think that that could have been the cycle highs on most altcoins. Yes, I still have the swing long open. I haven't. This is the play. The scalp played out. The swing I'm still keeping open. Okay. Can ETH get back to 360 because of ETF? I don't know. It all depends on Bitcoin. This is a Bitcoin market right now. Alts do not matter. However, if we close the daily like this, we have an SFP. Okay, so if we close the day like this, and the close is in um, 4 hours and 30 minutes, let's say we close here. This is your scalp, probably back up to there, right? Um, but the daily, we still have a while to go. 4 hours and 30 minutes. So this is not a trade to take yet. We have to wait to see how the daily closes, right? But I am taking this long. There is a strong bounce point that can happen from this SR. Just stop loss placement's tough because there's no data backing it. So if you take that long scalp, it's I would probably have like maybe stops below 32.50ish, 60ish, and then it's going to be a quick 2% move hopefully, and then you capitalize on it. Okay. Sol, like I mentioned, if we get that 30%, like these bids filled yesterday. I had a 5% move. I should have taken it injective, right? Like we had all the DCAs filled. I had a 15% move from entry. I should have taken it and closed out the trade. My recommendation to all of you is if you're following an analyst, if you're following anyone on Twitter, don't wait for TPs to hit. Their risk tolerance is different than yours. My risk tolerance is definitely different than yours. So I can take a 20% down move where some people can't, right? So, if you're following someone and something's up 15% and then they take a loss on it, um, at the end of the day, you're the one selling the coin. So, I've seen a lot of turmoil in chats because, something hit stop loss, but at the end of the day, you're buying, you're selling. Take accountability for your own trades, right? So, Sol, this area here needs to hold. Okay? This is clear demand. Yes, we have liquidity down here. We could see a wick above, but that is a disgusting candle. Whether it be the daily, the 3-day, the weekly, right? That is a disgusting candle. Lose that, there is no strong support up until this 86. Yes, you have intraday supports within this previous range, but the strong support comes around here. And we saw Bitcoin go down 3% on the day, right? Sol is down 9% on the day. So just imagine if we get, by math, right, from here, we get another 17% drop. Multiply that by 3, right, if we're doing math. There you go. All right? So I'm not a man of fractals. I'm just a man of math. And logically, this makes sense, right? So that's why I will be bidding around 86 down to 50, and hopefully I do 2-3x from there. I'm happy. I have my long-term bags that I shared when I first came into the server back in August, September. I don't remember the time frame, but it was at $22, $26, right? So if I sell my bags when Bitcoin loses that, I'm happy with a 4 or 5x. I wouldn't be buying here. Okay, if you guys are not in any spot positions, if you guys are not in any leverage calls, I would just sit on your hands, all right, and turn on a movie, do something productive, because trading this right now is difficult. And if you are trading, there's no swings to be taken. These should all be scalp plays, quick 15 1 hour charts, and you're looking for quick 1-2% gains, and then you move on, right? Yes, you can do a lot with your hands. I did a lot last night, and I was, air dicking because Celtics fucking won. and I was happy for the people there, but honestly, fuck Celtics. Um, anyways, like, see, when I was talking about this, Sol was at 132.2. Bitcoin went down $30. This went down almost 60, 70 cents. All right. NBA guesses was shit for you this year? Yeah, they were. Um, that's okay. I'm watching the WNBA now. So much more entertaining. So that's Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. The other coin that's very, very strong, and if you guys plan to, you know, stick with ETH, if ETH does well, I think like the ETF is expected July 2nd. So if ETH does well, you want to focus on the ETH betas. The ETH betas are LDO and OP, but OP is a shitcoin. See how it's down 9%? LDO is somehow holding up. All right. So LDO would be a strong performer if ETH continues to grind higher. This is another coin that you guys want to be watching. Um, and if we take a look at this clean chart, Ondo is a strong performer as well. Yeah. I don't know. Here, let me actually, I need more data here. Okay. So here's your range. Oops. Range highs, range lows, right? Went above, flipped it, lost it, came back down. So I'm not sure we get that much of a dip, but if we do, we have a triple bottom formation. That's where I would look to add. Not only that, but we have strong demand here and support. Okay. So that's a good area to bid if we do get that nuke down. What would that be? Yeah, about a 30% decline. So adding there is good. Otherwise, with this coin, you're going to want to wait until all right, we have a little falling wedge. So back down there makes sense. You have extra confluence, but you want to wait until, honestly, this level is flipped to support, break out, retest it, and then grind higher, because this can easily give you a move back up to here. If ETH actually runs, this coin will go as well. Right, so watch. May 15th, 37%, 85%. Right, so very, very strong coin to keep your eyes on if ETH continues to run hard. Okay. So bidding range lows. Otherwise, if this runs currently and we had a swing, an SFP of the lows here, I don't like this structure. Right, it's a little like descending broadening wedge or ascending broadening wedge. Shorting this, lose it. It's gonna be a very, very tight scalp. Okay, stop loss has to be a little bit tighter, but you could probably short this down to $1.69 if it loses and the whole market collapses. But ETH is going down, Bitcoin's going down, heavily red, and LDO is green. So this is going to be a tough coin to short. I would just wait until market nukes, and once this, picks some bids or gets some bids, this is going to be a strong performer. Only because its Bitcoin pairing is also strong as well. Okay. Now back to Bitcoin. Structurally, there is, I don't know when I drew this, but I did. We're still in an uptrend. Okay. We can go down to we can go down to 44K and we will still be in an uptrend. We would just be putting in another, right, higher low, right? Structure has not changed macro time wise, but here is our current low, okay? Lose that 58 or sorry, the 60 to 59K, lose that low, then yes, we are going to go down probably to that 53K region. Okay, structure will change once this low is lost. Okay. Peppy. Memes are dead. Memes are completely dead. Dogecoin, Dog with a Hat, Peppy, Floki, they're all dead. Okay. Trendline. Trendline lost, closed below, rejected, closed below. That was a short with your stops above there. Now, this can still go down, and like there's so many demand zones here. I'm gonna go to a higher time frame. So you still saying Doge will hit 80 cents the cycle, or that's over? I'm done making bets, man. Um, I'm already gonna be gay because Sol isn't $200 by the end of this month. I'll come out full swinging pride. All right, this is where Dogecoin Peppy needs to hold. Okay, so lose this. If this doesn't hold, and we have an old demand zone here, if this doesn't hold and we turn to resistance, this is probably going down to here, right? Range high, range low, range high, deviation, reclaim range low, reject it from range highs. You will play this range over, once we get back into it. So this is a disgust. Like all the 3-day charts and candles look terrible. Okay, it's just a bearish engulfing over the course of the last like week or week and a half. An example of a coin that lost, of like the failed breakout and then got back into the range. Let me show you one sec. BNB. Okay. So we take a look at the daily. Right? The range is clear. Discord bugged. Range is clear. Okay. We had the breakout. Came back below. Fell into the range. Rejected. And got like a nice 10% move down. Okay. Here's a failed breakout. Or sorry. A fake out above the range, fall back into the range. Once that rejection happens, it's a short, right? Now, like stop loss, you'd have to go to a lower time frame to find because this candle's huge. You wouldn't place it up there; it's too high. But this is probably going down to range lows, and that's how you're going to treat it as such. You never want. I mean, here's your mid range. right? You could see a bounce from there, just like, once we cleared mid-range, we bounced from it, held it, so there's support there. But this is your invalidation, basically. Okay? Otherwise, your bidding range lows and playing such. RSI doesn't mean anything. Like, RSI is the most useless, because we can be oversold or overbought for days, right? People will say, oh, RSI is like, 12 or 15, and then we could still be trending sideways or even lower, okay? So this is why I don't use any indicators on my charts. RSI is one of the most misleading ones. Now, if you use RSI with confluence of a lot of different factors, then sure, but if you're using RSI alone, useless. Okay. Um, yeah, I know Elliott waves, but Elliott waves, like if you just trade Elliott waves alone, also useless, right? Like you have to have confluence. Like just like harmonics, I know people trade them solely by themselves, but you might as well just throw an alligator on the chart and call it an alligator pattern, come up with a pattern and say like I'm gonna start trading these. If you have no confluence with anything you're trading, like that's useless, right? Like support and resistance is the key, is the bread and butter of all trading, right? You don't go into trading and start learning um, patterns without understanding support resistance. So if you trade harmonics, Elliott waves, supply demand zones, like you have to come from a understanding and derived from support resistance. What do you think of JTO? I don't think of it JTO. I don't think of anything that derived from Sol. I don't care about Mu. I don't care about JTO, Jupe. I don't care for any of those. I think they're all garbage and eventually will go to zero. I only trade high cap coins. AVAX. Okay, so we have a little broadening or a megaphone pattern. It's a type of broadening wedge. Um, we're getting close to demand zone here around 22 or 23 down to 18. That is where I expect it to bounce from. But again, this is a Bitcoin market, so this was previously resistance, right? Even still here, we haven't retested it. So this whole thing here can be a deviation, right? Just one giant deviation to get back under and go here, right? Um, but if you plan to add to your AVAX bags, this demand zone would be where you want to add. Red is your invalidation. Lose that and turn into resistance. This most likely goes lower, right? Like it falls in line with that 30%, 30 to 50%. You might see a small bounce from 2467-ish. It's that SR point. If you plan to take that long, this would be your stop loss. Okay, and hopefully it gets back up to here. Otherwise, this is what I would go with. That's your invalidation. Hopefully it holds, and you play it back to mid-range if you plan to swing. But again, this is a market where you're going to take profits very, very quickly and swiftly. Vanry. We're getting to the corrective ABC. Um, I think we go back down to support, put in a triple bottom. So 1203. Lose that, we have demand zone. Here. So if you're looking to buy, these are your buy levels. And I've closed my short-term Vanry. I'm still in from 4 cents when it was TVK. So I'm up, almost 4x. But these are your buy levels. I'm going to make them blue. Okay. What invalidates the BNB position? By the way, I'm not taking any of these guys. I'm just charting. There's your invalidation. I think I posted it. Yeah, I posted it. Stop losses are there. What is the reason we are down so much on every coin despite Bitcoin being near all-time highs, and why do you think this bull market is the hardest? I'll explain fully on the 20-minute video that I make, but the answer is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance and the US dollar. Bullish. And USDT dominance. Yikes. I don't use MACD. I don't use any indicators. Oops. There you go. Let's see how the daily closes. Gala? Huh, let's do CAS. Ooh, CAS double topped. Hmm. Hmm. This needs to hold the trend line. So, like, this would be. I wouldn't take this on leverage, but this is your invalidation. Stops below previous low, manual stops. Lose that, like basically lose this level here, then there's like nothing stopping it from going to here. It's just a giant channel. It's more like a three. One sec. Let me get that chart up really quickly. Eh, Chrome's not working for me. That's your invalidation. Sorry, invalidation's here. Turn that into resistance, then you cut your position. Gala. This coin's dead. We have strong supply here. If we ever get back there, it's a short. Here's your support. Here's the lows. Okay. current support. It's on it. Not looking too great. If you're taking a long or want to, this is your now it's honestly not worth it. Like, there are better coins out there to trade. But didn't they just get hacked or something, or like exposed? If we get back up to here, right, supply zone. Supply zone, also trend line retest, right? Reject, close below. It's a short, stops above there. And then here is your macro one. This needs to hold here. One sec. I thought I had. I don't. Quick explanation of ranges. And I'm going to do really quick. My last video, watch the first 10 minutes of it. My last stream with Unity. Okay? So you have highs, mid-range, lows. Okay? When price is consolidating under resistance or range highs, you do not want to long. Okay? You long when it breaks out, flips, and then goes higher. When price is at range highs, you set limits at mid-range with your stop loss somewhere below wicks or invalidation, and you play it as such. When price is at range lows, you do not short. You wait until support is broken, retested, and then you can short with stop somewhere above here. You long range lows usually, and have stop loss below support and validation, and you play to mid-range first, then range highs. Okay? If you want to short from range lows, you wait until price gets to mid-range, because it should reject there like the first go around, and this is going to be your setup. All right? You play it mid-range back down to range lows. Now, when price is consolidating on mid-range, right? You go and touch grass. You do not want to long or short anything around here. Not even if it breaks below and turns into resistance, or breaks above and turns into support. This is a stay the fuck away from this coin or market until this either goes to highs or lows. You don't take anything during at mid-range. Okay? There's a brief explanation of a range. Ondo. Ondo is a very strong coin. Okay, in my last video that I made going over Bitcoin and alts, this is where I wanted to see it bounce, and it bounced there last night and gave a 10% move. Okay, we have not lost the trend line, so basically buying anywhere from $1.05 down to 88 cents is a very good entry. Even if it dies from this point on, right? It's like a 20% drop, but like this coin is kind of unfazed with the market. It's holding very strong, and you buy the trend, you buy this demand zone here, basically this red line down to here. Okay, but just like TIA, okay, we are basically, we haven't even reached the trend line. Like this is Ondo currently. Okay, this is where we are in Ondo. We haven't reached the trend line, right? You want to close out when previous low is turned into resistance. So here is your previous low, your last higher low. Once that is turned into resistance, then you cut the trade and you look for much lower. Okay. TIA, this was the last higher low. Now, like this can go down here, make another higher low, right? And then if that is lost and turned to resistance, that's when you cut. The current higher low has not been made. This is your last higher low. Okay. TIA, here is your last higher low. We bounce from it, right? Put a double bottom and went higher. Made a lower low, rejected from the last higher low, made a lower high and confirmed the rejection, and then see how it continued to go down and lower, right? That has not happened for Ondo yet. So this is still in an uptrend. So in your opinion, the most important indicator, support and resistance are not indicators. They're, yeah, they're not indicators. Indicators is what you go into here and type an indicator. Okay. Confluence you use, so my number one is support resistance, and then I have my definition of a supply and demand zone, and then I use fibs. I can throw in Elliott waves in there. I can throw in harmonics. I can throw in, if you use RSI, sure. Volume profile, I don't use any of those, but you want to build upon support resistance, and then whatever else you want to add. Right? Like if you want to trade smart money concept, I call it dumb money concept. If you want to trade, ICT, by all means, right? Everyone has their own, but everything is derived from support resistance. Injective is a shitcoin. It's probably going much lower, but yeah, I can chart it. I'm most likely going to cut my position. So this is the demand that needs to hold. Okay, like if you want to buy, this is where you buy. From 1920 down to 1420. Okay, I think on some exchanges this wick was taken out. Let me see. No, it has not been. But Injective has lost the range. Okay, if this is your highs, and these are your true lows, we have lost the range. So this can continue to go much lower, like I mentioned, the demand zone here. Right? But if this rejects here, it's most likely going to be a short. It's a pretty shit coin. Once either I cut it or I get out break even, I will not be trading this coin ever again. It's just let me down too many times. But either we go and reject and you short, or we close above, retest like we did there, right, and then continue to go higher. That's when you long, only when it breaks out into the range or back into the range, retest, and that's when you long and stop somewhere. I mean, like right there when it happens. Otherwise, if it rejects, confirms this as resistance, and then you short it back down much lower and lower. So you have to wait to see what happens, but if it rejects, stop loss, probably go to a lower time frame defined. Yeah, it would be something like this. Okay, something like that. Otherwise, you wait for the breakout retest of previous support, and then you long would stop somewhere above there or below here. Objective. Are you concerned about the recent USDT FUD? To be honest, and I said this at the beginning, I haven't really looked into it. I've been super busy. It's my bachelor party weekend, so I will be away Thursday through next Friday with no access to Discord, phone, or anything. But if it's only being delisted on Uphold, Uphold is a like unknown exchange. No one uses Uphold, so who cares? But if it's going to be a backing issue where exchange or regulatories agencies are afraid that it can't be backed one to one, then if they're going to switch to USDC, how are they so certain that USDC is backed one to one? I just think it's a nothing burger. There's always USDT FUD. It's just a way for not only governments but these big institutions to just manipulate the market so they can get cheaper Bitcoin. That's what it is. No, I my only indicator is not support resistance, like I mentioned. I use support resistance, supply demand, fibs, trend lines. I take into account USDT dominance, Bitcoin dominance, the dollar. There's a lot of things that I do. I just don't go into indicators and type in any indicators. No MACD, no volume profile, no RSI, um, none of those. What about stop loss? Any tip, please? Stop loss for what? This is my last coin. I gotta head back to work. Oh, and by the way, no matter, I mean, like, I've made a good chunk of money from trading. Don't ever be a full-time trader. Like, it's not worth it. In my almost 7 years of trading, I've always had a full-time job. For anyone that's deciding to go and become a full-time trader, don't. It's not worth it. And like, there's going to be months of inconsistencies. So in order to be a full-time trader, you have to have like at least 10 to 12 months of capital reserve just in case you're not making money. Okay. Um, I got that question asked like 2 or 3 times from different servers and different people in my DMs. So I'm just putting that out there. Ordy. Stop loss position in general. Stop losses are usually below, wicks or support levels. I can't. I just You got to show me a chart. We got a giant falling wedge here on Ordy. This is the demand zone that's needed to hold. Okay. Lose this. Let's make this blue. There's nothing stop after this support is lost. There's nothing stopping this from going down to this demand zone here. Right? So this is a very tricky area to trade Ordy. If market goes lower, you set bids from 26 down to 19. That would be about a 50% decline. Yeah, um, about 30 to 50%. Yeah, like this is where you're gonna bid if we have a market correction. If you're looking to short, we're at support. No reason to short support or range lows. If you're looking to short, this is where you short. However, I prefer the bearish Quasimodo pattern, right? Here is your lower low. Wait for a lower high to be formed, and this is where I would personally short if we get it. I don't think we'll get there anytime soon, but if we do have a giant wick there, that's where I am shorting. And then you bid. This is your buy zone. Looking at Bitcoin the way we are doing now, major support, right? If we lose this price, correct. I'll be making like I mentioned, I'll be making a 10 to 15 minute video focusing on Bitcoin and what I think will happen if we lose that support. But a brief explanation is posted in my channel. So, as I mentioned, very important level to hold. Cool. So I'm going to stop recording here. I'm going to head out. I'll upload this and